tonight is Mama K.
Hey, Mama K here.
And tonight we will be reviewing Swiss Army Man, which is currently streaming on Netflix. Originally we were supposed to do Pet Sematary. Unfortunately, there were some scheduling conflicts. Jess, our other host, who's going to do that show, is sick. So we're going to move that back to next week. But in the meantime, we are doing Swiss Army Man. So I'll give a quick synopsis here before we get into some of our ratings. A hopeless man stranded on a deserted island befriends a dead body with magical powers, and together they go on a surreal journey to get home. That's about as basic as you can get.
And that sounds about right.
Yeah, pretty accurate, I think. So we got our two leads here. It's pretty much the two of them for 95% of the movie. We have Paul Dano as Hank. He is the man who's stranded. And we have Daniel Radcliffe as the dead body.
Dead body.
Yeah, so
DB.
Paul Dano, I think he's been in a lot of stuff. I always think of him as Paul and Eli from There Will Be Blood. What do you think of when you think of like Paul Dano?
I think of solid character actor. I actually, though, could not name a movie that I've seen him in, but, you know, he shows up frequently and does a good job. Usually the characters he plays, though, are not kind of my jam. They're not, I don't have a lot of sympathy for them, so I didn't have a whole lot of hope going into this film, but wow. Yeah.
He's usually a sort of straight man or kind of a whiny little snot-nosed kind of guy. Those are his two. I mean, he's in all kinds of stuff. Cowboys and Aliens, Looper, 12 Years a Slave, Prisoners, the other Netflix movie, Okja. He does a lot of stuff recently, and you kind of recognize him if you see him, but it's not really a name you think of. And I think everyone, when they think of Daniel Radcliffe, it's the first thing it's got to be,
Harry Potter.
He's Harry Potter, right? He's also in Young Doctor's Notebook. I really like that. It's a miniseries on Netflix. Him and John Hamm are in that. And then
he did a series of plays after Harry Potter, I think, to try to separate himself from Harry Potter. But it's such an iconic character, you can't. But honestly, I didn't see Harry Potter at all when I was watching this film. So
I would say he's definitely playing against his type in this. So before we get into anything further, we're going to spoil it right here. If you haven't seen it on Netflix right now, it's been on Prime and Hulu.
Go watch it. Go watch it.
It's really weird and kind of cool. And I think if you like a podcast, like if you're listening to a film podcast, you're gonna like a movie like this. So I originally saw it on Prime, so it's on Netflix right now, but it's always on one of the major streaming services. But yeah, go check it out. So we rate things here at Films with the Women in My Life on 4 criteria, and those are the plot, the characters, the visual and sound, and the overall feel and resonance of the film. So starting with the plot, Mama K, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, super cool and groovy because it was something that you haven't seen before, and it's not trite and it's not overplayed. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I really liked it. I don't know what you thought I was going to think about it, because sometimes I think that you think that maybe I don't want to see something so bizarre. But I mean, I do like Wes Anderson films, and there's part of it that kind of reminded me of that. But at the beginning, what I have to tell you, what really pulled me in was the cinematography. I was in 3 minutes into the movie. I was like, this is how I want to see a movie filmed. This is exactly for me. So it was kind of like everything else didn't matter, but everything else was so good that it was just kind of a little yummy piece on top of the fact that I thought the cinematography was really amazing.
Yeah, it's shot really slick. It's by these directors. They call themselves Daniels. It's
because Daniel.
Right, it's Daniel.
Everybody
Kwan.
in the movie is a Daniel. There's Daniel Radcliffe, Paul Dano. I mean, it's all about the Dans.
It's a good point.
They should just be called All About the Dans.
Yeah, I like the Swiss. I think it's a good title for what happens. But we got Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert are the directors. They are collectively known as Daniels, is how they go by. They have another movie coming out this year called The Death of Dick Long. which is another black comedy kind of movie. But they're really music video directors, which is probably kind of the cinematography you're talking about. Like, they've done Manchester Orchestra, Foster the People, Tenacious D, Passion Pit. So they've done a bunch of different music videos, but this is their first. They have a couple of short films they've done, but this is their first feature.
Right.
I by the way, I didn't pick the. I didn't know what you were going to think of this. I thought you would have a pretty strong reaction in direction, but after Eternal Sunshine, that's a movie I thought you would have liked, and you did not at all. And this is a movie I knew you were going to react, but I didn't know what you would think. And
well, even though it's such a bizarre, I mean, the premise of the movie about basically it's a live dude and a dead dude, or is it? You know, as you're going along, is how's this whole thing play out? It's the plot of the movie is just so interesting, and you know, you're kind of thinking about it the whole time it's going on, because at least I was thinking, is this dude really there? You know, is this second dead dude really there? It was Weekend at Bernie's meets Castaways meets Gilligan's Island, and then you put like a mind game in the whole thing, and then you're like, what is happening here? And then I have to be honest, the ending was kind of the bummer part for me, because when it came back to...
That's so funny you said that. That's what I think too. The third act is the weakest for me. I think the first two are really, really good.
Yeah, and when it has to sort of center itself in a reality that we recognize, it kind of falls short, because I don't really want it to do that.
No, me neither. And I agree with that.
Yeah, I really didn't want that to happen. But so as far as a plot, I mean, it's out there. It's not anything I've ever seen before, and it would be something I would watch again. The difference between this, Brennan, though, and Eternal Sunshine is that Eternal Sunshine was such a downer. I realized there was nobody like literally dead through that whole film, but I felt dead. You're saying Daniel
Radcliffe feels more alive than Jim Carrey.
Yeah, a dead Daniel Radcliffe over a live Jim Carrey. I guess that's what I'm saying in this case. Not a live Jim Carrey, but a live the character he was playing in that film. But yeah, I was kind of constantly surprised by what was going on and how things were kind of being meted out to us, and I had no sense of time.
No, I have no idea if this is a day or two or if this is like years. It's really unclear.
Yeah. I can only base it on the fact that, you know, they weren't growing, or at least the live person wasn't growing facial hair. And also that Daniel Radcliffe wasn't, you know, decomposing at an alarming rate. That it probably wasn't a huge amount of time, but it wasn't even bothersome. I could suspend all of that.
No, those two things
suspend everything.
Yeah, those two things put it. Yeah, there's nothing reality. It's. I called this like a dramedy fantasy, because it's fantastical, and you get. It's not like it's realistic and then all of a sudden it becomes that. Within the first 5 minutes, you know this is not based in a real reality, or if it is, it's like it's some sort of hallucinating. So we've gone around it. The movie starts with Hank, who's Paul Dano. He's about to hang himself on the beach, and right as he's about to, he sees a corpse wash up on the beach, and the rope, it's going to step down, but the rope breaks, and he goes and finds dead Daniel Radcliffe, and it's like kind of talking to it because he's clearly lonely. And then Daniel Radcliffe's corpse just starts farting a lot, like aggressively, like he's like shaking. And it's an interesting. What did you think of this start? Like, this is how we're beginning.
Okay, so initially I didn't realize that you had seen this before, but I almost texted you going,
when it came out, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to text you going, really? I mean, I grew up I raised a house full of boys, and now we're going to be watching a movie about farts. But, you know, knowing
in a sense it kind of is, but yeah.
It is totally about that, but it's not. But is it about that? I mean, is it really about the farting? No, it's really about, you know.
No, it's a mechanism.
Yeah, but it's a mechanism, and it's also a plot point about, you know, there's a part in the movie where they're talking about, you know, Daniel Radcliffe is kind of because his character is dead, I guess he doesn't have, he's not able to like draw upon life experience. So everything needs to be explained to him by Paul Dano. So when he's explaining to him about, farts and what they are and, you know, well, you know, why don't it's something that you do. Everyone does it. Well, if everyone does it, why is it a big deal? Well, because people don't like to think they do it, and other people don't want other people to do it, and they don't want to do it in front of other people. And then it comes to this whole concept of what is trust and what is normal. They mention normal a lot. So it's all very, I mean, and as the movie goes on, Daniel Radcliffe becomes more alive, even though he's still dead during the movie. But as he becomes more alive, that's when for me, I was like, this dude has manifested his inner, what I call brain noise, as Daniel Radcliffe. And whatever kind of insecurities and things that he feels as the Paul Dano character, whose name is Hank. Yeah. Whatever Hank's feelings are actually just being manifested by Manny, who is the Daniel Radcliffe character. And so when he's talking to him, he's really just talking in his head, is how I interpreted the whole movie, basically. I don't know if you had the same feeling or not.
That's how it feels at times. For me, Manny really becomes his own character to me at some times where, there's definitely times where he's talking and it definitely seems like he's talking to himself and having the conversation with himself. There are other times where Daniel Radcliffe seems like he's reacting he's kind of childlike, and I like that is because he's childlike, but he's also dead, but he's also barely kind of talking. It's a unique way for him to say, and you already said, not just the farting, but later on they do masturbating. He's like, the dead Daniel Radcliffe's like, I want to be able to have sex one day. And I was like, I need to find someone to have sex with. And Paul Dano was like, well, some people just have sex by themselves. It's masturbating. And then he goes in this whole thing about how his parents didn't want him to masturbate, and his mom said he would catch up to him in age if he masturbated too frequently. And he was like, "Oh, so when you masturbate, you think of your mom? That's interesting." And she's like, "No, that's not," because he's like that kind of childlike way.
That kept playing out through the whole, after that conversation was had. That whole thing kept playing out throughout the rest of the movie about his mom, and I'm like, this guy had some screwed up parenting, and what kind of mom says that to their kid?
Oh, same thing. I mean, the mom, definitely the dad too. Through his conversations, his kind of philosophical conversations with dead Daniel Radcliffe, you get his whole background. You don't get exactly how he got to the island, but you kind of get why he was very lonely. There's the Mary Elizabeth Winstead character that comes in later. The way they get off the island, and they do it immediately, is Daniel Radcliffe is farting so much that he becomes a jet ski.
He does.
And Paul jet ski. And Hank rides him to somewhere. He rides him to the mainland. Drags him into a cave, and this is when he starts discovering Manny's got all sorts of powers, not just fart jet ski powers. He leaves him in the
manifest water.
Yeah, he vomits clean water, and so he
to keep Hank alive.
Right. And his erection is a compass.
Leads him toward home.
Right, they find...
Wow.
Yeah, that's a...
Wow.
Yeah, interesting way to put that. And
there's a lot there. If anybody wants to write some sort of thesis on that, I think that's probably a dissertation topic. So.
Yeah, a disturbing
Go
one.
Go for it.
Very Oedipal, but... and we haven't... I mean, Manny's what Daniel Radcliffe's called in this, and he doesn't start talking, but he kind of slowly learns it as he goes. After he starts vomiting water, is I think when he has his first conversations.
Yeah.
Then we kind of hit this middle part that it's probably my favorite part of the movie. Daniel Radcliffe wants to talk to this imaginary girl, the picture of a Mary Elizabeth Winstead on Paul Dano's phone that has low battery or whatever, so he doesn't want to keep showing it to him because it's low battery. And so he has no connection, so it's not like he can just call somebody. He sees himself as totally stranded. Right, they're in the middle of the woods, so there's no service or anything. Yeah. And so it gets to the point where Paul Dano is acting as a woman and also as a mentor dead Daniel Radcliffe to teach him how to talk to girls. And so they construct a fake bus and like a fake movie theater and like a whole...
Right.
They construct like a town,
like
basically.
Gilligan's Island. It's Gilligan's Island, because that's basically... I mean, I know maybe a lot of your listeners maybe don't have that in their pocket, but...
No, they're great-grandparents.
People who are stranded on an island...
know what Gilligan's Island is, but...
Listen. I watched it in color, not in black and white, so there's that. But... Yeah, those people were on that island, and they made huts and telephones and all this kind of stuff, but they couldn't get off the island. So, I mean, I can see where that's actually a thing. But that's my Gilligan's Island part of the 3-part. Is this Castaway? Is this Weekend at Bernie's? Is it?
Right. And we've talked about the characters. They're pretty developed at this point. What do you, if you had to rate the characters of the 2 characters we have, what do you think of them?
Yeah, I mean, as far as a rating, I like them both a lot. Not just that, I think that they're well played, and they, you're really waiting to find more out as everything develops, and not just because it's sort of a strange plot line, but I think you're just like, you get, you're interested in them. And I mean, they're definitely a 4.5 for me. I really, really like them. They spent a little too much time in the Hank pretending to be the bus girl situation, but I realized that was really important to Hank, and so that's why
that is
so
my
much
favorite
time
part
there.
of the movie. From when they do the bus thing to, I guess maybe like the drowning scene a little bit later. Everything in there is my favorite part of this movie.
I like before that, when he actually starts to try to entertain him and explain to him what goes on in the world. Explain to Manny what is going on in the world, and he creates what your world looks like. It's all about Cheetos, and later on it's about microwave popcorn and things that we all take for granted as just being part of our world. And I would really love to talk to the Daniels, because this was pretty crazy and fun, and maybe it shouldn't have been. And then at the end it's sad, and I don't know what to think about it, but I was never bored.
No, maybe a little bit at the end. I was a little, well, I guess this is my second watch. So the first time I watched, I was in it the whole way through, and the second time, everything holds up until I guess that last 25, 30 minutes, because once you know what's going to happen, it doesn't quite play as well as everything in the woods basically and on the island.
Yeah, and I can see that. I would think the second time I wouldn't be quite as interested in that. But I mean, I think you could probably watch it several times and find more and more things about it to appreciate, and to sort of maybe foreshadow things that are going on. He uses the word, Manny uses the word retarded, and that really affects the Paul Dano character, Hank. And you find out later on it's because that was a word that his father used, probably to describe him. And so I think that there's things like that just kind of roll through the movie. And then it does, the end, as much as I don't love that part of it, I think it really does kind of bring together some of the stuff that happens earlier. The very end, I'm a little confused.
I kind of like the very last 5 minutes or so. I kind of like that, but I think it's because we're gleaning. We both. I think we like different parts of this. I think you seem to like the more philosophical stuff, where it's like big questions hidden by fart and masturbation jokes with a dead guy. Like, it's something that shouldn't work at all, but the way it's done is pretty eloquent, and that's all stuff that I like. I guess that's like the cake of this movie. I like the icing. I like when he puts a bunch of rocks in Daniel Radcliffe's mouth and punches him in the back, and it shoots like a rifle and like kills birds. Or, oh my god!
Oh yeah, I don't dislike that. I like that part too.
I like the part you like too. I think the parts we like the most though are the other part, like, oh my god, when he has the rope tied around like this giant like metal pole and like shoves it down his throat and then squeezes him and it's like a harpoon and it like wraps around a tree. All the while, I don't know if you noticed, and this is a good time to talk about the visual and sound. I didn't give I think the characters are a 4 or 5 as well. I love the Daniel Radcliffe character, and Paul Dano's good too, but the whole time this is playing,
Radcliffe is really good.
This is my favorite thing I think I've ever seen him in. This is it's so funny.
Yeah, agreed.
And he plays it so well. He has to play half dead, but slowly getting more alive, and he does it really well.
Totally pulls it off.
Yeah, I totally buy it. He's all limp, but
I do too.
His lips kind of, the eyes. Oh, the things he does with his eyes are so good. They're kind of wonky. So I mean, we're talking about a little bit about the visual and sound now, and it's shot by music video directors. So it's slick. Like when Paul Dano's giving all his speeches in the first third, you see them reenacting with all these little like all the trash they found in the woods, and all that's shot really cool. I love the music in the montage when they're dancing at like a fake party they throw for themselves.
Right. They throw a rave, man. I mean, it's a 2-person, one person alive, 1 dead person rave.
But it feels like more people are there because of all the fake, the Wilsons and like all the fake people they have there. And the way it's shot, it feels like a party.
And the lighting. Yeah. Yeah. And the everything about it, you're just like, man, part of me was like, man, I want to go to this thing. This, not just the party part, but I want to like see this in real life. I want to be watching this.
Oh, it was probably so funny to film
when the party comes. Oh, yeah, and I want to be on the bus. You know that.
Oh, the bus is so
most
cool.
people don't think of the bus ride as being. Bus rides are not. I think he alludes to it in the film that it's just the poor people's way of transportation, but that is not how I feel about buses at all in my life or any sort of public transportation. I love public transportation. It is the best people watching. It's amazing. And I was like, this guy, it's like knows what I'm thinking. And I'm like, how does this guy know what I'm thinking? but he does. I mean, I love that. I love the cinematography of it. Like I said before, I think is great. A lot of things are shot, in the very beginning, things are shot at a really low level.
Yeah.
Like, as in where you're standing, I guess, where you're shooting from. And for me, that always draws me in. That's my favorite when I'm out doing photography. That's my favorite way to shoot something is sort of from ground level. But it doesn't just stay there. When they're in the forest, it's all over the place. And, I think they picked some really good locations to shoot at. I assume they were somewhere up in the redwoods in California, and it's so, it's a visceral place to be. The trees are gigantic. They're dying. They're decaying.
Yeah, it's indoor.
It's indoor.
It's a forest mood.
I love indoor.
They're pretty much what. The movie. Yeah, they're both. I'm assuming both California. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you definitely like I mean, there's the sound I really like. I like the music that they play during the dancing montage. It starts with Daniel Radcliffe they make him snap his fingers and it starts a fire and they start popping this bag of popcorn they found thrown away and it's pop 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 pop, and then as the song goes on, I don't know, I didn't catch this my first time, I'm curious if you did. The lyrics are things like everyone needs a montage. That's
it was almost like you know what it reminded me of is like when you're watching like a really bad Oscars opener, and that's kind of the thing that they do. Like they'll be running across the stage, and they'll be, singing about the 5 movies that are nominated for Best Picture, but it's all in that same la 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 la.
I love that song.
It was like that. Yeah, or it was just in the beginning before that part, even before the dancing scene, it was, all the music was just about things that were happening around them. He could remember a tune in his head. The Hank character had a tune in his head, but he couldn't remember the words. So whatever he was doing, he would just put the words to that
my God.
tune.
When they mix Cotton Eye Joe in that same pop 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 style with the Jurassic theme park music. That's the song that plays when Paul Dano in drag first walks in the bus. It's and like the lights shining on him, and Daniel Radcliffe is all like with his wonky eye and his jaw hanging out. Like it
was the best.
The scenes like
so
that.
So many references to Jurassic Park. I need to know what the connection is because. There were a lot of references to Jurassic Park, Laura Dern. I mean... Yeah,
that's the only woman's name he could think of.
Right.
Because Paul Dano said it way earlier in the movie. Maybe the Daniels are just... Sorry, not the Daniels. The Daniels are just fans of Jurassic Park. I don't know.
JP. Yeah. It could be. I mean, also, that was like a Jurassic Park kind of location, too, so...
Yeah, they have the little RV, like ATV thing they drive for a bit there that they find overturned in the woods. So visual sound...
Why would there things that were wrestling around in the woods could have easily been, dinosaurs, but instead it was, raccoons and bears. But
right.
Could have been.
So, yeah, I give it a 4 or 5 overall. It sounds like you're right around there, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, pulled me in. I'm closer to a 5 on it, really.
Really?
I think
I've
so.
had to back off.
There wasn't anything...
I've noticed that a lot of my grades on these, the best grade is almost always visual and sound. I think that's just because movies look good nowadays. Or maybe it's just the ones we pick.
Yeah.
But I've tried to be more critical, but this one, I mean, scenes like that, it's hard to knock it.
Yeah. Well, and I think they there's a lot of time probably in post-production for certain types of films where they make sure that that's a big part of it.
So we're getting to the part now where it starts to slow down for both of us, I think. After they fall in the river after trying to cross a log, and another Manny power, he can use him as like an oxygen tank and survive almost drowning. So that's the shit I like.
So many powers.
He's got the coolest powers. I fucking love it. We get to them around the fire. He's talking about his dad and their bad relationship, and Manny's like, "Oh, there's a big raccoon eating our food," and he turns around, there's a fucking bear there.
Yeah, and I actually, that was like one of my favorite lines for some reason, because Paul Dano was like off on a tangent talking blah blah blah, and all of a sudden, also there's a big raccoon eating all of our food. It's like, what?
So there's just a giant bear, and so they climb a tree to avoid the bear, and then Manny starts crying. Because he doesn't. It goes to the thing, the trust thing. I love his line. If you hide your farts, what else are you hiding from me? And it's like showing a flashback of Paul Dano alone farting in different locations because he didn't want to fart in front of the dead body.
Yeah, but see, I mean, I'm laughing at that now, but for me, I'm like, that's a mind blowing like. What? Exactly. That is like an actual thing. Like if, what else are you hiding? You're right. What else are you hiding? Everybody knows that everyone farts, but no one's going to do it in front of someone else unless your comfort level is like, at a 10. So it's just kind of, it's surreal in that, I mean, but it's relatable.
Yeah. And it's not, it's obviously a funny line in retrospect, but it's not played for laughs. There's the dramatic music.
At all.
And again, he's crying, and it's played for laughs in retrospect, but his crying is like crazy looking. It's just because he doesn't really cry. He just has like running water pouring out of where his eyes are.
Right. It's like his eyeballs are spigots, and it's just like
it just looks like someone turned the water on behind his eye socket. So
Yeah, and I want to just say that there is no, even though this whole movie has a dead body in it, and I don't find it to be, it's not like a Weekend at Bernie's haha funny dead body. It's not, I don't want anyone to think that this has any sort of scare factor or anything like that, because it's not.
Oh no, if it was scary, you wouldn't watch it. Or you'd watch it backwards.
Well, maybe, yeah. What are you saying? You're absolutely 100% correct. But it's not, it's not, anyway, that's.
Yeah, it's not like dumb, like hot, like laugh humor. It's not played for that. It's played pretty straight. But and it's funny in a way you're not expecting it to be, despite, the type of humor it is. So we get they
until you get to the third act, and then it's sobering.
Yeah, this is when we hit like we're no longer in fantasy world. It's like real world. It's coincidental real world too, but I mean, we kind of have to follow it up to that point. They get they get out of the woods and they're in like this backyard. And it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead's backyard. The girl on the phone, the girl that Paul Dano revealed has been on the bus in the real world that he was too shy to talk to. And he checked with the last of his battery. He saw her Instagram page and saw that she was married, had a kid, and so like his whole crush, which probably had something to do with him spiraling out of control. And ending up on the island in the first place. They're at their backyard, and the daughter's in the backyard. And Manny, he doesn't want to bring Manny because he knows he'll look crazy. And Manny's like, "No, I want to come." And the daughter, the little girl daughter, who's like 4 years old, like she's like a little kid.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
She sees disheveled Paul Dano and dead Daniel Radcliffe. Except Daniel Radcliffe at this point is pretty close to just talking regularly. He's like the most alive he's been in the whole movie. And the girl,
well, he's taking him around. I mean, in the whole movie, we see Paul Dano's character carrying Daniel Radcliffe all over the place, sort of like in a Yoda situation. Luke carrying Yoda on his back the whole time. And because I looked at it a little different, I thought, I was like, Paul Dano's in that backyard, but he has zero interest in engaging in any sort of conversation with the Mary Elizabeth Winstead character, and he has to be pushed by a dead guy into doing it. I mean, that's the part where Daniel Radcliffe actually is the most alive. Like you said, he's actually walking and being physical about making sure that he confronts this part of his life.
Yeah, and it's we're at and Hank is, or not Hank, Manny is trying so hard to help Hank here because he knows.
Yeah.
And in front of the little girl, she's like, "Look at my powers," and he farts really loud, and he uses his compass erection, and that freaks her out.
Big mistake.
Yeah, Paul Dano's like, no, don't do any of these things you're doing, because to him, he's just like, he's like a little kid. He doesn't understand that you don't do that. Sarah, the Mary Elizabeth Winstead character, comes out. The cops come. Manny's put in a body bag, and Hank's dad shows up. And Hank's dad at first goes to the body bag, and they're like, "Do you want to look at him?" And he's like, "I don't want to look at him." And you're not sure if it's the Manny character's dad or if it's and you learn pretty quickly it's a mistake. Right. It's Hank's dad. He does a weird interview with the local news where he's like, "He's alive and he helped me find myself." Yeah, and then Hank's dad realizes it's him. And then the body, what happened? How does it happen? The body's like in the body bag. It's like sliding down the woods, and then. Well,
yeah, he goes and pulls the body bag off of the gurney, and then just because he now wants to escape back, his real world is not what he wants his real world to be. So he's like, "I'm going back to dead guy world, and I'm taking because that's me and Manny are the best." And so he goes back up over the hill that they came from, and decides to go back into their area where they were before. That was actually really close to civilization, but they didn't know.
Yeah, that's what breaks up the whole. I mean, it's that's part of what sucks about this ending is the logistics of it all now are coming into question because we're in reality. How long were they back? Now because you're not thinking about how long are they here? What are they actually eating? Like how is he actually getting fresh water? Is he really just drinking like vomit from a dead guy? Because that doesn't seem like it would be good. But you don't think about any of that until you go to Mary Elizabeth Winstead's house, and now you're like, this is a real world, and now these things you start thinking about, you're like, well, they were right there the whole time, like no one saw them or heard them, like all that stuff. And that's kind of, what's unfortunate about this last 20-ish minutes is it doesn't fit the rest of the film tone-wise.
Yeah, it doesn't, but it turns it to where I think the directors or the writers wanted it to go, which was that the Hank character really is only happy in his headspace. He's not, he's as awkward as he thinks he is. He, does strange things, and that are not socially acceptable.
Right.
And that's what happens at the end. And you feel, you feel for him, and or at least I did. I felt like, yeah, everybody has been in that sort of situation, but
so for the feel and resonance, then what would you give it?
Well, I felt it. It was resonant. But yeah, I don't know. It was because I was in the fantasy world of it so hard. I have to, probably give it like a 4, just because that last bit really threw me off. And I know that was probably the point of the whole movie, and that I just wanted to maybe live in that other part a little bit more. But yeah,
maybe it's a testament to how good they made you feel like you were in the fantasy world. I don't want to go back to the reality. I want to play with the dead body in the woods more.
I don't know that I thought that particularly, but I felt like he was having a conversation when he was in the fantasy part. I felt like he was having a conversation with his headspace, with his, with his noisy brain. And then as soon as he was in the real world, it actually kind of felt like he was beyond an outcast. I mean, he was a little bit, probably clinically ill.
Right.
So that kind of bummed me out, that I didn't want it to be that way. I didn't want him to be that far over the edge. I just kind of wanted him to be like a lot of people are, or maybe everybody is at some point in their life, where you just, too much in your headspace, and it's hard to get out of that. But he, when they get ready to handcuff him at the end, I'm like, what are they handcuffing him for?
Well, he did just run off with a dead body, and, I mean, I guess they probably didn't need to, it was for effect, but, I mean, right. that's a...
But then the very end,
so here's our end.
We need to talk about the last...
3 minutes?
The last shot.
Oh, the last shot, okay.
Was it 3 minutes? I don't know. Just the very last shot of Daniel Radcliffe reprising his role of a ski-doo.
As a farting jet ski.
And,
yeah.
And farting his way back into the ocean.
See, just saying it out loud, I love this. It's so stupid. I love it because I don't.
But it's not.
It's
stupid.
not stupid, but it's
stupid at all.
So he takes him down. He takes him out of the body bag. He's like, "Come on, Manny, wake up!" Everyone's down there. The cops are down there. The reporter's down there. Mary Elizabeth Winstead and her family's
Everyone
down there.
thinks he's insane.
The dad's down there, and Paul Dano is trying to wake him up, and then the cops are handcuffing him, and then it's like zooms in on Paul Dano's face, and you just hear him fart, and then everyone's like, "Huh?" And he was like, "It was me." It was me. like he's so proud now.
Yeah, this is the Hank character, because he's like, now, you know what? I can fart in front of other people.
Yeah, Manny taught him the confidence to do socially unacceptable things, I guess. So they're all kind of like, oh. And so they take him back, and then you hear more farting, and the cop's like, all right, that's enough. And then Paul Dano's like, that's not me. And yeah, you look back, and Manny is violently thrashing on the ground, farting, and he shimmies back into the
water. Which
water.
has happened before.
Jet skis away, and then they share a last smile with each other. And then that's the end.
Yeah.
I really like that last 3 minutes, because it goes back to the zany... I guess my favorite parts of him as being the Swiss Army Man is him being this like so weird character. That's just
the part that I really do like about it is like you're not sure when he goes back into the reality portion in the last bit. You're not sure whether he's whether anybody else is seeing this. I mean, the fact that the little girl can see that he's a dead guy and he's moving and talking a little bit, but nobody else really sees that.
You're not sure.
Yeah, you're thinking maybe this is all in his head,
which is not what I wanted.
When they're on the beach. No, I didn't want that at all. But and then when they're on the beach, and then he starts to thrash and everything, and the cameraman is there, and the cameraman puts the camera up to his eye, the viewfinder up to his eye, very slowly, like, what is going on? And
the camera guys. Actually, I like how the dad starts like laughing. Yeah. The dad's amused,
and the dad starts laughing, but I wanted to be like, dude, I don't think you have the right to laugh. Honestly, you sound like you were a terrible father.
The what the fuck person is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She's the what the fuck is this?
Yeah, Sarah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it ends. It ends on that fun note.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So I'm glad that this actually existed. This dude actually was a Swiss Army Man, and everyone could see it. It wasn't just
that was the most important thing about this ending is that it validates
Yeah.
your last hour and a half. Because if he was just
Yeah.
crazy and this was all metaphoric, it just isn't. It's not as. Because you like Manny so much, you just want him to be real. Because Manny's such a great character.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Right.
that's Swiss Army Man. If you haven't seen it, but you listen to spoiler reviews anyway, go check it out on Netflix. Watch it again. I liked it the second time too.
Yeah.
So Mama K, it sounds like you would, but just to confirm, would you recommend Swiss Army Man?
I would recommend it. I mean, if there's going to be an audience that will not want to watch this just because of all the scatological situations going on, and being a woman of my age, I'm okay to sit there and watch a movie where they're talking about a dude's boners or whatever. But a lot of people my age are probably not going to like this. So unless you're a huge Daniel Radcliffe fan who actually, they show his butt a lot too, just in case anybody needs that, to reference. And it's like, it is not fur free. Let's just say that. But yeah, I'm going to recommend this. It's not Harry Potter. So,
no, this is better than 5 of the 7 or 5 of the 8 Harry Potters. No, I recommend it too. And yeah, this is not for everyone. I think an audience that listens to a film podcast is going to appreciate it. And I'm a preface.
Totally.
I don't like poop and fart jokes usually. Sprinkled in is fine, but this is probably my favorite movie where the crux of the character is he farts a lot. Like, this is definitely my favorite movie where it's a really important plot point. So, if that's
right, it's not just farting because lowbrow frat boys want to.
No, it's thoughtful farting. It's introspective farting.
And introspective boners.
Yeah.
Useful.
Yeah, it actually helps, and it makes you think about things. So so that's
it makes you feel better.
So that's Swiss Army Man. I know we had to push Pet Sematary.
Yes.
We're gonna get to that next week, for sure. And then probably some more streaming reviews, and then we've got at the end of the month, Mama K and I think will be the only two of us reviewing Avengers Endgame, because there's just going to be...
Yeah, and the movie just clocked in at 3 hours, 5 minutes, and I'm pretty sure the review is going to be twice that, so...
Yeah, it might be the only review that week. We might have to two-part the review that week. We'll see how much... I'd say it has to only be the two. I mean, we just wouldn't... We don't have that much space on our website.
We don't have enough bandwidth.
Yeah, no, we don't have the bandwidth for that. And then May and June, we've got a lot of good movies in the theaters coming up. If there's anything you guys want us to review, Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life. Twitter is... Yeah,
jot it down. Let us know.
Yeah, we have Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu. So all the 3 major streaming services. So if you see it on there, let us know. And then, Twitter at FilmsWomenPod, and you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Brennan_podhost. Mama K, anything else before we close out?
No, thanks for asking me to do this. I was not expecting it, and it was a fun way to spend my evening, as always.
Oh, I'm glad you liked this one. I wasn't sure how you're going to feel. I thought it would be entertaining either way, so... But yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
I did.
So until next time, everyone, this is Brennan signing off, saying enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, subscribe to us on iTunes. Please leave a review, as it helps more people find the show. Like us on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life. Follow us on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. And check out our website, filmswiththewomen.libsyn.com. That's filmswiththewomen.libsyn.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening, and enjoy your movies.